This next presentation is going to look and feel quite a bit different from what you've been used to. The ultimate goal is always to help you get closer to clients by providing understanding tools on a super timely topic, and that topic is mental health. So, a bit of a big stat for you right out of the gate. In Canada, by age 40, half of the population will have or have had a mental illness. So in 2016, Bridgehouse identified a connection between mental health and sound financial decision making and partnered with the CMHA. And this collaboration, I would submit, has broken new ground by rallying Canada's investment sector, and that's both dealers and regulators, to consider solutions to this complex issue. So the presentation that you were about to hear on mental health and financial and partner relationships delivered by President Lynn, as well as Adam Wiseman, the manager from CMHA Toronto, has been delivered to thousands of advisors across the country, both in branch meetings and conferences. It's also available through our CE-accredited webinar series. And this presentation has been built with research, advisor interviews, a lot of mental health expertise, just giving an overview of the current mental health landscape and its impact on your investors. So you're going to see a suite of educational tools, real life scenarios, where you can apply a lot of these tools to your clients who are experiencing mental health issues. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is where a lot of you live every day. So, the feedback on this has been universally positive. To our speakers, Carol Lynn, President and CEO of Bridgehouse Asset Managers. Prior to founding our firm, she served as SVP of Client Relations and Operations at one of Canada's largest investment fund managers. She's a CPA, holds a Bachelor of Business Administration. She served on the boards of a number of organizations, both industry and charitable. She is currently the chair of IFB and is also a member of the Institute of Corporate Directors. Adam Wiseman is joining her. He is a manager of the Forensic ACT program for the Canadian Mental Health Association, Toronto branch. His CV is huge, so I'm going to do it a bit of a disservice and give you the Coles Notes version of it. He's worked with the CMHA for 15 years, from the front line in the community to his current role managing multiple programs. Certified health executive, project management professional, a black belt in Lean Six Sigma, which just sounds fascinating in and of itself, a Safe Talk suicide alertness trainer, and a national certified psychological health and safety in the workplace advisor. He sits on numerous committees and advisory panels. He was a professor of case management and an instructor, and he's really been at the leading edge of community healthcare and bringing this to the advisor community. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to introduce Carol Lynn and Adam Wiseman. We have put packages on your desks, on the tables. Hopefully everybody has one. The literature and the tools are in there. They will be referencing those tools. And if for whatever reason you don't have one, please raise your hand and I'll ensure that you get it over the course of this presentation. So thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carol, as Scott mentioned, and my colleague in crime here is Adam. And we have spent a lot of time talking about this topic over the last couple of years. I haven't counted up all of the presentations that we've done, but we've basically talked to well over 5,000 advisors around this topic. And you may wonder, why is a person who runs an investment firm talking about mental health and the financial advice relationship? And I have had advisors ask me that question in meetings like this. Like, Carol, don't you sell mutual funds? Don't you sell SMA mandates? Yes, that's what we do, but we are very passionate about this topic. And we're passionate about this topic because I do spend a lot of time on the road with the wholesalers and speaking to advisors, and I was hearing a lot of stories that were very different from what we would typically hear in terms of interactions that you were having with your clients and concerns that you were having around those discussions. So we decided that we needed to do a little bit of work on this. And also, being an investment firm, we also understand that the time that you're in the market is the most important or most critical success factor to investing success, even more so than performance. So it's really important that we think about how a client makes decisions and what can actually impact that client decision making. So we're going to talk today about some statistics around mental health in Canada that's impacting Canadians. We're going to talk about the research that we did with advisors. We're going to look at some recommendations and some tools. And then Adam's going to run us through a sample scenario. So first, staggering statistics. 1 in 5 Canadians will experience a mental health problem or illness in any given year. This is from the Mental Health Commission of Canada's report back from December of 2017. So that's pretty, interesting when you think about it. 1 in 5 Canadians will suffer from some type of mental health concern. But the other statistic here, by the age of 40, 1 in 2 Canadians will have had a mental illness. Now, folks, those are our current investors of today and future investors. So I think that we need to think about that and how we manage through those types of situations. These are the 5 most common mental health concerns that Canadians experience today. Diminished financial capacity from Alzheimer's and dementia, and there's been lots of discussion around our aging population and the incidence of dementia with our older population. But certainly anxiety, depression, substance abuse, and problem gambling are other concerns that Canadians are experiencing right now. And I just want to talk a little bit about dementia. The statistics around dementia can vary quite significantly because the symptoms around that can vary as well. However, between 3 and 5% of 65-year-olds will be suffering from dementia. And you can see, as you grow older, that statistic gets higher. So by the time you're age 95, over 50% of the population over 95 is suffering from dementia symptoms. Now, this is a concern for all of us in the room because one of the first things to be concerned about is financial capacity, and certainly people can be subject to undue influence, third-party fraud, and that's something that we need to be thinking about. Fortunately, the incidence of dementia under the age of 65 is not high. However, if it should happen to an individual, it's that the disease progresses very, very quickly. And of course, when you're under 65, we're thinking about building our nest egg for retirement, and it can be very devastating for families if that should happen. So when you think about the 1 in 2 and the 1 in 5 statistic, and you think about those 5 most common mental health concerns, we at Bridge House looked at those statistics and said, well, you know what? And this must be happening. The advisor community must be dealing with some of these concerns within their practices. And if that's the case, is it impacting a client's decision making? And how is an advisor actually dealing with these types of issues? Because you are not trained in mental health matters. You are trained in investing and money matters. So we felt that we needed to look at what kind of research is actually out there. And there's tons of research around investor behavior, but very little research around mental health and the financial advice relationship. So we decided that we needed to learn, and we partnered with the Canadian Mental Health Association, Adam and a lot of his team members. We brought in a panel of mental health experts, so psychiatrists and legal individuals, like you heard from Arthur Fish earlier on today. He was on our panel. Awesome guy, and has been very, very helpful to us. And the whole point of having this panel was to see what we could learn from the mental health specialists. Can we actually transport the learning of these folks into financial services, into our industry? Why should we start from square one? And indeed, as we had the conversation with advisors and with our panel, we've had 2 days in our offices so far having these discussions. We found that, yes, indeed, we can learn something from these folks, and we can bring this into our industry. And we also hired a research firm. So we decided to do qualitative and quantitative research because we felt that we just needed to learn more about the incidence of these types of issues within your practices. So we asked financial advisors, what mental health conditions have you encountered with clients that have had a negative impact on financial decision making? And this is what you told us. The number one concern that advisors were experiencing with their clients was anxiety, where a client had gone through some type of life event that was causing them significant anxiety. And that could be loss of a spouse, it could be loss of a job, it could be divorce, any number of things that any one of us can experience at any point in time. And then you can see that our hypothesis was correct in that all of the top 5 mental health concerns that Canadians are experiencing are being encountered by advisors with clients within their practices. Gambling addiction is the one which had the lowest incidence at 21%, but that's still 1 in 5 advisors who had clients who had a problem gambling. Advisors also told us that they needed to spend more time with clients who were experiencing these types of issues, and also advisors told us through the qualitative research that they felt a real tension in working with clients who had these types of concerns. And that tension came from wanting to do the right thing, wanting to act in the best interest of the client, but also not wanting to be intrusive, not wanting to ask too many questions, and also not wanting to take full responsibility for the concerns that the client had. So it came down to boundaries and responsibilities of that advisor relationship. And these next couple of slides talk to that, where advisors were really unsure about their boundaries. I'm hesitant about engaging too much with clients with mental health issues because I don't know the boundaries of my role as an advisor. And also in terms of responsibilities, over 40% of advisors agreed with these comments. They're concerned about portfolio risk mitigation and also their overall responsibilities in working with a client who was exhibiting signs of mental illness. And on top of that, the Canadian Mental Health Association did some research around entrepreneurs. And this was interesting because it was talking specifically to entrepreneurs and the feeling of isolation that they have. And you can see that 46% of entrepreneurs felt that mental health issues were interfering with their work, but only 20% actually accessed health support, mental health support. And, I think that within our roles in financial services, in a lot of cases, we're entrepreneurs. We're running our own businesses. We're responsible for the acquisition of clients. We're responsible for the outcomes that clients get. So it's important for us to think about building those types of supports around us. So we looked at all of this research and we said, wow, this is bigger than a bread box. This is bigger than Bridge House. What are we going to do here? Again, we're an investment firm, right? This is not our specialty. And thankfully, we had worked and partnered with the CMHA to help us on this. But we felt that we really needed to get out to the industry and galvanize support for advisors. And I say that because right now, with the media, with robo-advice, with everybody saying, fees are coming down and nobody needs advice and you can go and, do what you need to do in building portfolios with a robo-advisor, that's really nonsense. And when you think about all of the types of life events that can impact a client and impact them emotionally to make decisions that are not in their best interest in the short term, I really think that advisors need some support and education and policy around this area. So we took this to the regulators. We took it to dealer firms, the IACs, all the acronyms in the industry, the IROCs, the MFDAs, the OSC, the CSA, et cetera, and we had a discussion with them about what we needed to do. We broke it out into 3 different buckets. Industry support, what can the industry do to support the advisor community? What can dealer firms and peers do to support the advisor community? And then, of course, advisor support, which we felt that we could do at Bridge House, and you see some of that on the table in front of you in terms